I see you, not from a distance, not from somewhere far and unreachable. I see you right now, in this moment, in this room, in this season of your life that has felt so unsettled, so in between, so much like standing in a hallway with every door closed. Asterisk, you pressed play on this video for a reason. Maybe you don't fully understand that reason yet. Maybe it came up in a list and something in you, something quiet and deep, said yes. That pull you felt, that was me. I have been trying to get your attention for a while now. There is something I need to say to you tonight. Something specific. Something that has your name on it. Asterisk, because I know where you have been sleeping. I know what it feels like to walk through a place and feel like it was never truly yours. To put your things down in a space and still feel like a visitor. Like you were borrowing someone else's story. Like the life you were living was built for a different person, and you just ended up in it somehow. I know the ache of that. I made you. I know every part of you, including the part that longs, not for luxury, not for extravagance, but for belonging, for a place that feels like rest, for walls that hold peace instead of noise, for a door you can close and finally exhale behind. Asterisk, that longing is not foolish. It is not too much to ask. It is not something to be embarrassed by or pushed down or call ungrateful. That longing is something I placed inside of you, because I always intended to answer it. Tonight, I want to tell you something about what I am doing, not what I might do someday, what I am doing right now, in ways you cannot fully see yet. Stay with me. Asterisk, you have moved more times than you wanted to. Maybe it was circumstances, a job that changed, a relationship that ended, a lease that ran out, a home you had to leave before you were ready. And each time you packed those boxes, there was a grief you did not give yourself permission to feel, because life kept moving and there was no space to sit with the loss of a place that once felt safe. Asterisk, or maybe you have been in the same walls for years now, and the pain is not physical displacement. It is something slower, something quieter, the feeling that where you are is not where you belong, that the chapter you are living is not the one that was meant for you, that something got delayed, or lost, or interrupted, and you cannot quite name it. You have lain awake in the dark and felt it, that hollow feeling, like something is missing and you cannot put your finger on exactly what. Asterisk, you have scrolled past images of homes, houses with wide porches, kitchens full of morning light, yards where children run and laughter doesn't feel rationed, and something in your chest tightened. Not out of envy, exactly. Out of recognition. Out of the deep knowing that you want that you are supposed to have that, and you cannot understand why it has not come yet. Maybe you have been praying about a house for a very long time. Maybe the numbers have not worked. The timing has not lined up. The door opened and then closed. You got close, so close you could almost smell the paint, and then something shifted, and it fell through. Asterisk, and you went quiet after that. Not because you stopped believing, but because the hoping hurt. Because you had already imagined the children's rooms and which corner would hold your chair, and then you had to close that image down again like a window. You cannot afford to open. The grief of a house that didn't happen is real. I want you to know that it is a real kind of grief that most people do not talk about, and most people do not understand unless they have lived it. You grieve the version of your life that lived inside those walls before the deal fell through. You grieve the neighborhood you researched and the church you had already found nearby. You grieve the fresh start, Asterisk and maybe, and I say this gently, because I know how heavy this is. Maybe you are not even grieving a specific house. Maybe you are grieving the feeling of stability, the feeling of foundation, of having somewhere in this world that is yours, that cannot be taken from you, that does not depend on someone else's decisions or a landlord's letter or a season of income that changes without warning. You have carried this for a long time. You have smiled through conversations where friends talked about their renovations and their backyards, and inside you were pressing something down, pressing the ache down, pressing the question down, the question that you were almost afraid to say out loud because you fear what the silence might mean if it goes unanswered again. The question, God, do you see me? Do you have something for me too? Asterisk, I hear it. I have always heard it, and tonight I am going to answer it. Asterisk, here is what you misunderstood. Not your fault. Not a failure of faith. Just a misunderstanding that I need to gently correct. Because it has been costing you peace, and you have lost enough peace already. Asterisk. You thought my silence meant no. You thought the closed doors meant I had stopped moving. That the unanswered prayer meant the prayer was unheard, that the waiting was abandonment, dressed in holy language. But child, that is not what silence is. Asterisk, when a builder goes quiet, it is not because they have abandoned the project. It is because they are working, measuring, setting foundations that have to be exact before anything can rise above them. The ground level work is invisible to the person standing outside. The person outside sees nothing happening, but underneath the surface, everything is being prepared. I have been preparing, not punishing you, not ignoring you, not handing your portion to someone else while you waited. Preparing, asterisk, and tonight specifically. In this hour, in this moment that you almost scrolled past and didn't, I am pulling back a corner of the curtain, not to show you everything, but to show you enough to let you breathe again, because you needed to breathe again. You have been holding your breath for too long, bracing, tensed against the next disappointment, protecting yourself from hope because hope has felt dangerous lately. And I understand that. I understand why the wall went up. I understand why you stopped asking out loud. But I need you to hear this clearly. The fact that you are watching this right now is not an accident. Asterisk, I arranged this. This specific moment. This specific video in this specific hour. Because there is something I have been building for you, and it is closer than you think. And I needed to tell you before the weight of another quiet night convinced you to give up on the prayer entirely. Do not give up on the prayer. Do not let the delay become a denial in your mind, because they are not the same thing. They have never been the same thing, and the difference between them is about to become very clear in your life. Stay with me just a little longer, asterisk. There was a man once who had walked out of everything he had ever known. His name was Abraham, and I am going to tell you his story, not the way it is told in Sunday school with flannel boards and abbreviated timelines, but the way it actually felt, from the inside of it. Asterisk. He was 75 years old when I first spoke to him. 75. Which means he had lived the entire length of most human lives before I came to him with the thing that would define him. He was not young and restless. He was settled, rooted. He had a house. He had a city. He had people around him who knew his name and his father's name. He had everything that makes a person feel like they belong somewhere, and I told him to leave it. Asterisk. Now, I want you to hear this carefully. I did not give him an address. I did not hand him a map. I told him, leave everything you know and go to a land that I will show you. I will show you, future tense. Not here is the destination. Not sign the deed and move in. I will show you. Meaning, you have to walk toward something you cannot fully see yet. You have to trust the one doing the showing more than you trust your own ability to see ahead. Asterisk, he went. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine picking up your life, your tent, your animals, your household, and walking into an unknown, sustained only by a voice that said, I will show you. He went, and for years, the land he was walking toward was just horizon. Just the next stretch of ground beneath his feet. He camped, he moved. He camped again. He looked at the sky and remembered what I had told him, and some nights I imagine that remembering came easier than other nights. Some nights I imagine the stars looked like promise, and other nights I imagine they looked like questions. Asterisk. There was a moment when he was in Canaan, the land I had told him about, the land he had walked so long toward, and he still had no deed, no permanent walls. He was living in tents on land that technically belonged to other peoples. And I came to him there, in that in-between place, and I said to him, look north and south, look east and west. All of it, all of what you see, I am giving to you. Asterisk, he could not buy it yet. He could not build yet. He could not hold the papers in his hands yet. But I was already giving it. The giving had already begun in the spiritual reality, before it ever arrived in the physical one. He could not see the full extent of what I was giving him. He could only see what his eyes could reach from where he stood. But I was already working in the dimensions he could not access. I was already arranging what he could not arrange. And I want you to hear this. I want this to land somewhere deep in you. Abraham never owned the land in the way the world would define owning. He never built the kind of permanent home the world would call arriving. But he lived and died as a man who was called the friend of God. And the promise I made him over that tent in a foreign land, it is still being fulfilled. Thousands of years later, in ways he could not have dreamed from where he was standing. Because when I promise, I am not limited to the lifetime you can see. Asterisk, but here is the part I most want you to take from this story tonight. Abraham's tent was not a failure. His tent was not evidence that I had forgotten. His tent was the address I knew about before he was born. His tent was the exact location where I showed up and said, look at all I am about to give you. The tent was not the end. The tent was the conversation, child. Right where you are right now, in whatever temporary, uncomfortable, unsettled place you find yourself. This is not the end of your story. This is the conversation. This is where I am coming to you and saying, look at what I am about to do. Look, I am giving you a new home. I need you to hear every word of that sentence and not let any part of it slide past you. Not the word giving, which means it is already in motion. It is already mine to give. It is not waiting on the economy or the market or someone else's decision. And not the word new, which means it will not be a hand-me-down of someone else's dream. It will be built for you. It will fit you. It will be the answer to prayers you prayed and prayers you gave up praying. And not the word home. That word most of all, because a home is not a house. A house is walls and a roof and square footage. A home is peace that lives in the walls. A home is the specific exhale you breathe the moment you step inside. A home is where your children grow and your faith deepens and your table has room for the people who matter. A home is where you wake up and feel like you are exactly where you are supposed to be. That is what I am giving you. Not just the structure, the feeling, the peace, the belonging. Asterisk, I told you in the book of Jeremiah that I know the plans I have for you. Plans for welfare, not for calamity. Plans to give you a future. That was not a greeting card verse. That was a specific, personal, binding word spoken over a people who were in exile, people who had lost their homes, who were living in a land that was not theirs, who wondered if I had forgotten them. And I said to them, I know, I have not forgotten. I have plans, and the plans are good, and the plans include a future with a home in it. That word was for them, and tonight I am speaking it over you. Asterisk, I told you in Psalm 127 that unless I build the house, the builders labor in vain, which means hear this carefully. Every door that closed on you without my hand was not your failure. It closed because I was the one doing the building, and I was not finished yet. The deal that fell through, I let it fall, not to punish you, not because I was withholding, but because that was not the one, and the one I am building is worth every month you waited. Asterisk, I want to tell you specifically what is coming. Not the address, not the exact timing, but the nature of it. What is coming will feel like relief. Not just excitement, relief. The kind of deep, physical, whole-body relief that comes when something you have been carrying for years is finally set down. You will walk through the door of what I am giving you, and the first thing you will feel is that it fits. Not perfectly in the way a showroom fits, perfectly in the way that you fit, like it was made with you in mind, because it was. Asterisk, there will be a table in what I am giving you, and around that table there will be seasons of laughter and seasons of tears and seasons of prayer, and all of it will be held by walls that I prepared, walls that I knew about long before the first time you ever asked me for a home. What I am giving you will be more than shelter. It will be the place where the next chapter of your story begins. The chapter that looks different from this one. The chapter where you stop surviving and start building, where you stop bracing and start planting. Asterisk, I told you in the Gospel of John that in my Father's house there are many rooms, and that I go to prepare a place for you. That promise extends beyond eternity. I am a God who prepares places. I am a God who goes ahead of you and sets things in order before you arrive. I am doing that right now. In the physical world, in the practical world, I am ahead of you, and I am working. Trust me on this. Asterisk, and I want to speak to the fears you have not said out loud. The fear that the money will not work out. I am the God who gave oil that did not run out to a widow with nothing. I am the God who stretched what should not have been enough and made it more than enough. The financial provision for what I am giving you is already handled in the heavenly account. What has to happen in the earthly account will follow. The fear that it is too late, child, Abraham was set. Sarah laughed at the promise and still held it in her arms. My timing does not observe the clocks that make you anxious. What feels late to you is exactly on time to me, because I see the full picture you are standing too close to. The fear that you have done something to forfeit. This you have not. My gifts are not revoked by your seasons of doubt or your moments of weakness or the prayers. You stopped praying because you ran out of words. My promise does not expire when your faith wavers. If it did, none of my children would ever receive anything, because every one of them has wavered. Every one. You are not uniquely disqualified. You are just tired. And I am speaking to your tired. Asterisk, I am giving you a new home. Hold on to that tonight. Write it down somewhere. Say it out loud in your room, because that declaration, spoken from your lips in this moment, is a seed. And what I am doing beneath the surface of your life right now is watering it. Here is what I need you to do tonight. Just one thing. Stop dismantling the hope. That is the one thing. The one instruction. Stop taking apart the hope before it has a chance to build. Because I know what you do. I know how it works in your mind. You let yourself feel something. A small flame of possibility. A moment of real believing. And then almost immediately a voice starts. A quiet, familiar voice that runs the list of reasons it won't happen. The market is too expensive. You don't have enough saved. You've been here before. Remember the last time you hoped. Remember how that ended. And piece by piece, you dismantle the hope until there's nothing left but the familiar weight of resigned waiting. I am asking you to stop doing that. Tonight, not because positive thinking is some kind of magic. Not because pretending the obstacles aren't real will make them disappear. But because hope is not wishful thinking. Hope is the spiritual architecture through which I work in a person's life. When you keep hope alive, you keep the channel open. When you stop hoping, you are not being realistic. You are building a wall between yourself and what I am already moving toward you. Abraham looked at the stars when I told him his descendants would be as numerous as they were. He was old. His body was past the natural season of producing children. And the scripture tells us that he did not weaken in faith when he considered those things. He considered them, yes. He saw the reality of them clearly. But he did not let that reality have more authority than my word. That is the thing I am asking of you tonight. Not to pretend the obstacles do not exist, but to refuse to give the obstacles more authority than my word. Speak it in your room tonight. Quietly, if that is all you can manage. God is giving me a new home. Not, I hope, someday, maybe. Not if it's God's will, perhaps. Just, God is giving me a new home. Because it is what I told you tonight. And what I speak does not return to me empty. Let that declaration be the one seed you plant in the soil of this evening. Just one seed. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to see the path clearly. You just have to say the word, asterisk, and then sleep. Sleep tonight like someone who has been told good news. Because you have been told good news. Let your body be held by the knowledge that something is coming. Let your mind rest inside the reality that I am already working, already preparing, already ahead of you on the road. Sleep is an act of faith. It is saying, I trust that you are handling what I cannot handle while I rest. Let tonight be a night of that trust. Let tonight be the night you stop holding your breath. Asterisk now. Let me speak something over you before you go. I bless your hands. The hands that have worked hard and sometimes wondered if the work would ever add up to the life you have been reaching for. I bless those hands. What they have built, what they are building, what they will yet build, I bless it. I bless the roof over your head tonight. Wherever that roof is, whatever the circumstances of it, I bless it with peace. I bless it with safety. I bless the sleep that will happen beneath it tonight, with restoration and with the kind of rest that pre-builds what the long season has worn down. Asterisk, I bless your children. If you have them, I bless them with a future that includes security, with a yard to grow in, with walls that hold the sound of their laughter, with the memory of a parent who believed even when believing was hard. Let them grow up in the house of faith that you are building right now with every day. You choose to keep going. I bless your finances. every account, every income stream, every resource you are managing. I bless the multiplication of it. I speak increase over what is scarce, and overflow over what is currently tight.